Good morning. Well, or evening or afternoon, whenever you might be watching this. It's good morning to me. It's the wee hours of the morning here at Strauch Casa. So we're going to review for the Unit 2 test, which is all about cells and cell membrane and how things go in and out of the cell. So let's do that. So we've started the unit looking at prokaryote versus eukaryote. And there are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 out of the 25 are about just that. 6 out of 25 are about prokaryote versus eukaryote. So if you have a good understanding of that, and there's 6 questions already. So let's talk about that. Remember, prokaryotes are smaller. Prokaryotes are much more simple. They do not, pro means no, so no nucleus, no membrane-bound organelle. But remember, just because they don't have a nucleus doesn't mean that they don't have genetic information. Okay, prokaryotes do have DNA that's just not housed in the nucleus. So remember that. But the big thing is they don't have any of those fancy organelles, and they don't have that nucleus. They're smaller. Again, they're just a much more simpler cell. Eukaryotes, on the other hand, do have membrane-bound organelles, do have a nucleus. They're larger cells. They include lots more, kingdoms of organisms, where prokaryotes are going to be pretty much your bacteria. The eukaryotic cells would cover, fungus, protists, animals, plants, all those major kingdoms. So make sure you look over. I know we did the WIZ-WIM thing on that, and then I had you maybe write a few more things down from the board that day when we were kind of working as a class on our comparison chart. But definitely look over prokaryote versus eukaryote, because again, there's 6 out of 25 questions there. Organelles, I know the major ones I told you to focus on were ribosomes. Make sure you understand ribosomes are little protein factories, right? That's where our proteins are assembled. That's where the amino acids are linked together to form proteins, is at the ribosome. So that's important to know. Remember, mitochondria, they are the ones that are going to take our glucose and change it basically through the process of cellular respiration. They're going to change that to ATP. So that's where kind of the energy factories, or I said like refineries in class. You do need to understand kind of the difference between plant and animal cells. I know we looked at that a little bit as well. Remember, plant cells are going to have chloroplasts, and plant cells are also going to have a cell wall, where animal cells are not going to have chloroplasts because they don't do photosynthesis, and then they won't have that cell wall. Those would be the 2 main things to kind of focus on. Other cell part stuff. Not really much. The rest of the test is I guess, know the job of the nucleus. It holds the genetic information, obviously. But a lot of the test, about half of it, probably a little bit more maybe, is all the stuff we've been covering the last few days, which is all of the cell transport stuff. So remember, we talked mainly about these 2 categories of cell transport. We had passive transport, where no energy is required. These would be things like osmosis and diffusion. Facilitated diffusion would be that in there as well, but osmosis and diffusion would be kind of the 2 main categories. And remember, passive transport, we said it's like floating down the river, floating down the Guadalupe, right? No energy required. You're going with the concentration gradient. It's going from a high concentration of molecules to a low concentration of molecules. So the two specific ones that we focused on would be diffusion and osmosis. So diffusion, remember, is, say oxygen or carbon dioxide, where there's a high concentration of oxygen going to a low concentration of oxygen. Then we did osmosis, where, remember, osmosis is just the movement of water across the membrane. So the movement of water from where there's lots of water to maybe where there's not as much water. And we said that, water wants to go to where there's more stuff or more solute to dissolve. So if there's a cell that has, 90% solute inside the cell, and outside the cell it's only 50% solute, water is going to move into the cell because the solute. A friend of mine tweeted after I put some stuff out and tweeted what we were doing one day, and he put a good quote, but solute sucks. Solute sucks. Solute is going to suck the water to it, right? So where there's more solute, it's going to suck the water to it. And the water is going to go to where there's more solute. So just remember that with osmosis. There's probably a few graphics that you're going to have to interpret where you'll need to know that rule. The other type of transport then we focused on was active transport. So active transport, remember, that does require energy. So ATP is involved. ATP is our cellular energy. It's involved with active transport. We equated this to swimming upstream, right? So swimming up the Guadalupe River. This is going against the concentration gradient. So if you're going against the concentration gradient, you're going against the natural flow of things, and that's going to require energy. So that was active transport. So anytime it's talking about ATP involved or against the concentration gradient, you want to look for active transport as one of your answers. Trying to think. I think that's really about it. There will be an open-ended question this time, so there'll be the 25 multiple choice, but then there will be one just kind of short answer. And it's going to have to do with like the lab that we did, looking at osmosis basically. So just look for that. There's a couple kind of lab setup questions. Just think about if a plant doesn't get enough water, what's going to happen to the plant, and think about when a plant takes up water, what process is it going to use to get that water into its cells. Anyway, I think that's really about it. Sorry, I'm about to go wake up my kids. They're not awake yet, so no funny kids, but let's see. Guinea pigs. Who doesn't like to see guinea pigs, right? No, I will not bring them to class. They cannot be the class pet. But let's see what the guinea pigs are doing. Oh, it's getting dark. Oh, there's the guinea pigs. All right. See ya.